These Aftershokz bone conducting headsets are pretty good. In fact, they're called Shokz now. And the reason I have a brand new one is because this old one died. And true to their word, it has a 2-year warranty and they sent me a brand new one. And you can see they're called a Shokz Open Run rather than Aftershokz Aeropex. But you're looking at these going, they don't look very broken, but they are broken. And I'm going to show you why they're broken because of this. You can see here one of the limbs has come off, and that means it doesn't pinch your head in the way it's supposed to. So I was hoping to see if there's any way we can recover these a bit, because they're still actually fully functional. It's not like the right ear is disconnected from the left ear or anything like that. However, they're just not usable. So they function electronically, but they don't fit on your head anymore. So there is something obviously in here split. So when you look at the literature, they call them the titanium because they're light, and you can see there's a bit of a knuckle where there shouldn't be. And I do recall many moons ago feeling something weird like that, and I kind of managed to kind of wiggle it into place and it locked in, but whatever it is now gone beyond. And although I'm quite hesitant to cut the silicone, because you can't really repair silicone, there's no way of manipulating that to the point where it will work anymore. So I think I'm just going to start dissecting and we'll just see how it goes. Again, nothing to lose at this point. I do have the replacement pair that they've sent me. So slicing down here. Now I'm being a tiny bit ginger because we do have the possibility of wires. There are batteries in these things and it will have to transmit power and or audio signal from one side to the other. So far I'm not seeing anything in the overmolding. In fact though, it's quite thin. Look, it's quite a thin layer, so we'll be able to peel that. If you can peel it, that means there's the possibility of gluing it back. So do I regret cutting it? Slightly. But I'm not too worried. I think we can still glue that quite adequately. So if you're going to try yourself, work from the end in and see if you can get in there. It does look like this would have been possibly an overmolded thing, because there are features in that charge port there, you might just see them, that would engage, would basically lock in that silicone so it can't unwind itself like we're trying to do now from constant use of that charge port. Now it does feel like there is a front silicone and a back silicone, so we've cut it in the right place. Oh, hello! So there's the wire we definitely don't want to tug on and break. And I can see there the end of a piece of, I guess, titanium, if they are to be believed. And that's it. That is what's gone wrong. So you can see the plastic has failed right there. And of course, that's taking all the stress. I mean, that piece of plastic was the piece of plastic that's required to make this work, basically. So the chances of repairing this are pretty low. You can see it must have been on its way out for a while through constant flexing, because there's not much meat there now. You can see it's actually rounded off. So it's no longer the right shape. However, I think I'm willing to give it a go. Let's try to get some epoxies mixed up and just shove it in. So I've got some resin here, and you can see it's one of the thick varieties. This is a Loctite, and we're not going to need its properties, but this is a Loctite with good thermal properties. So this is effectively the kind of glue that you could use to possibly glue down a heat sink, I should think. Or possibly using an engine bay. We're talking a proper high temperature epoxy. Now, I'm not really mixing it very well, as you can see, because I'm using a lid and this old ice cream stick. But the key is just to keep working it till it's pretty uniformly mixed. These particular industrial resins come with special tubes. So if you squirt them out properly through their tube, it mixes them on the fly, but this would be a really small amount of glue to make. And you're going to sacrifice a tube that probably costs a couple of quid. Right, so I think that's looking okay. It's nice and visible, so at least we can see what we're doing. So that's the end where we're going to be putting that bit of titanium. So let's Oh yes, that is a righteous dollop. And that's probably all we need. Don't really need much more than that. It's probably too much glue now. And I'm just going to make sure to keep that silicone out of the way. Really want it to get the resin on it. Just manipulating it, just trying to find that hole that that piece of titanium came out of. Okay, there. So that's inserted. Now the tricky bit will be to actually hold all of this steady while it cures. While that's drying, I've opened up the new ones, by the way. They come with a kind of flimsy bag. They used to be in quite a thick silicone bag, but to be honest, I never used a thick silicone bag because it was so unwieldy. So this is probably a bit more realistic than just chucking them loose in your bag or in your coat. Everything else kind of looks the same. I've been eyeballing it. I don't think they've put anything stronger here, for example, and it only comes with one wire, as I believe it originally, or the Aeropex came with two, but there's not much in it apart from that. So yeah, it does look like this Shokz Open Run is just a direct replacement. Anyway, back to the curing. So it's been some time. In fact, it's been a couple of weeks. We've had the Easter holidays, so yeah. So it's had plenty of time to cure. And it's actually looking quite good. You can see there that the junction is surprisingly holding out. Now, how long it will work in practice, I don't know. But we'll need to figure out a way, though, to seal this up nicely, because we're going to wear this back on your ear. Now, what you could do is apply from some silicone RTV. So that's very similar to the stuff you get in the tube of sanitary silicone. You can buy it in something like a toothpaste style tube. You could just basically put it along here and it will adhere nicely to that, and you'll be able to stick that all on there. What other solutions do we have? Maybe a self-amalgamating tape. You could just tape that up. It would look a little bit like the olden days where someone would wear some spectacles with some sellotape on the nose bridge to fix it. And that really ought to do you for a while, until, of course, Aftershokz send you your new pair. So, I have tested it, by the way. It does work fine. Maybe that's been useful to you and you'll be able to fix yours. Let me know how you get on. Look at that. I think that's absolutely fine. I shall be wearing that for all my dirty jobs, like being under a car. Thanks for watching. Turns out I actually have a little tube here of silicone that might work. It's hopefully black, yes, and it says 100% silicone sealing paste. And I will try applying that as a glue because, frankly, you're not going to find too many materials that will adhere to silicone. Generally, it's silicone and other silicone-based things. No! Oh, that's also common. Yes, actually, we got a bit more. I was going to say it's also common that the bloody tube has somehow set, but there is a bit left. And I'm just going to daub it on. You can see I'm just daubing it on. Ah, it's because it's a two-hand job here. Got to squeeze out a chunk. That's it. That's it. That's why you don't want me doing around your bathtub. I just don't know when to leave it alone. You know what you could do though? You could probably plasti dip it if you're careful, and just make sure you don't get it over the charge port. I'm almost considering going in with the finger now, but I'm just going to try with the stick. Yeah, I think you could paste that, like, you know, paint it over all of those areas that have the adhesive, as in the epoxy resin adhesive, and that will hide that quite nicely. So that even if your eventual repair by squeezing that jacket back over isn't too pretty, you won't really see it. Ugh. Now that part where that break is actually sits behind your ear, as in floating. It's not actually touching your ear. So I don't even know if you'd feel it anyway, if you would just wanted to ignore it. Right, now I'm just painting it on the sides because I really want it to stick in those particular parts because it's around the charging port. So we're going to need one more bit just there. Again, I've got to fight it out of the tube. Here we go. Might need to get another tube of this. Problem with some of these materials is, and there's the LED there, which I seem to have covered over. The problem with these tubes of stuff is that often they go off, and so by the time you go around to using it, it's cured in the tube. So it's always tricky knowing how much to buy. Gorilla Glue is quite a menace for it, because you go, I want to buy a nice big old tube of Gorilla Glue. It's the best price if you buy it in that bulk quantity. But yeah, you'll never get to use it. It's a false economy. Right, there. That's looking not very pretty, but it is actually sticking. You can see that does actually stick. You might want to wear gloves if you're doing it. Now let's get this bit of rubber around the port. That's it, that's it. Now there is a bit in the port, but I'm not worried about that because we can just rub that off later. So I just want to get this bit down, squidge it in, work the sides back up now. That's actually not looking too bad. That's more or less where you want it to be. Now I don't really know what's going to be happening to that status LED. There we go. Now if you want to smooth it, I would suggest getting some washing up type liquid, or maybe IPA. You could try to use your spit, but I generally don't use spit on silicone because it starts going mouldy, because you're introducing all the filth from your mouth into it. But I think this is just plain water. It's either going to be IPA water, one or the other. Let's see if plain water helps. Well, yeah, I think plain water's providing you with just enough lubrication to get that sealed over. And I'm going to let this dry, and then there'll be that last little bit of that wire I'm going to dab over, so that's black, and then that will be good enough. I mean, you can work that to make that a bit smoother. You can see in the light it's still got a few fingerprints, but that's good enough for me. There, now you can go. Be gone!